the idea of the today live stream is to speak a little bit about visual effects on the moon landing, because there is this guy, I think the English community know him very well, which is SciManDan, that he post in his YouTube channel a video saying that he's still waiting to a flat earther to explain how in the hell in 1969 they used CGI to fake the moon landings, especially or particularly one picture, which is the Earth rising, I think from the Apollo 8. So I'm gonna try to explain him, and I hope he respond to my video. To this video. I think my English is not the best in the world, but at least you can understand what I'm trying to say. And especially because I'm gonna use some PowerPoint presentation, and I think it's more clear there. But I don't need to express super good with my English, because I think my PowerPoint talks for me. So let me just open the PowerPoint. What is it? I am looking here into my computer, and I'm trying to make more often live streams in my English channel. So I hope this is the start of my regular English shows. And let me take a look very quickly. I think I found some PowerPoint here, but I don't know if this is the correct one. So let me know. Let me check, sorry, if this is the correct one. Don't worry, we understand you. This is Dante Fernandez, yes, but because you are Spanish, so you can understand a lot of things that I'm gonna say, because my English is like a mother language. It's like universal language. And all right, I gonna see. Let me see. Okay, I have that. Yeah, I'm looking just the other monitor, and okay, yes, I think I got it. I have here what I want to show to present. It's a long PowerPoint. I'm not going to use all this PowerPoint, but I think yeah. Okay. I think we can start to make a presentation. So I hope you're doing well, guys, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation. And if there is out there anybody out there that have a direct contact with SciManDan, send this video. Of course, like it, subscribe, and share this presentation, so we grow up a little bit in my English channel. So I'm gonna change my setup here to make the presentation. Let me just and there is gonna be some slides in Spanish, don't worry. And the idea is this is based on old PowerPoint that all the time I trying to update, and it's called the Puppet Master, or exposing the Puppet Master. That is the word titiritero. So in this type of presentation you can also learn a little bit of Spanish if you are from the English community. And the idea is because why I want to make this presentation. Well, because there is this video that a friend of mine sent me, Rodrigo, where this guy, which is a very well known in the English community, trying to debunk something that is undebunkable, because the earth is flat and stationary, and that is what everybody feels and see and experience. But this guy has like a schizophrenic behavior, so he believes that he's in a ball, and because he believes is a belief, it's not a reality. He didn't see it, he didn't go into space, he didn't have any kind of experience with the ball. But well, maybe he has um, wet dreams with the ball. But I'm gonna play it, and because the title, as you can see, is 1968 ZGI ahead of this time, still waiting. So I'm gonna play the clip fully because it's a short clip. Let me know if the sounds heard well. It sounds well, and then I'm going to try to explain this Globtar, how it was made, that supposedly CGI.
This is day 10 of waiting for flat earthers to prove that space is fake. And today I've got a classic for you, Earthrise, taken by Apollo 8 astronauts orbiting the moon. The Earth rising above the lunar horizon, one of the most famous photos in history, I think. But what I want to know is, how is the CGI so good in 1968 to make this look real? As always, still waiting. This is day 10.
I love that face. I love that face. So let me know. You have heard the sound this time? Okay, perfect. Great. So the first thing is that he presupposed that this is CGI, and he presupposed that this is real. So how you know, how SciManDan's knows that this is real if he didn't see it in any. We are not talking things that you don't need to see for determine that it's real, because it's something that you can experience or achieve here on Earth. This is a particular point of view. So there is only less than 500 people that supposedly went to space, but not to moon, not to the moon. So to the moon as human being, it was only, I think, 18 people, something like that, right? So nobody knows how it looks from the moon, unless you are a Freemason and you went to the moon in the 69, 70, 71, 72, right? All the 7 missions out there. So that is the first things, the first thing that you need to understand. The second thing is that because this is something that was presented to the human race as a picture, as a video, it doesn't mean that the only way to produce this is based on CGI and computer generated image, as we will do, or as we supposedly do in our days. You can use other type of techniques to produce this. In fact, it's very, very achievable and easy to reproduce if you are using miniatures and pictures, and like a black black background, as I have here, where I'm pointing with the finger. So that why these guys are using this stupid argument, because they are not belong to the motion graphic or visual effects community, as I do, because my profession is a visual effect artist and visual effect supervisor. So I'm going to try to explain why this wasn't CGI, of course, not just because the time where this was produced, but because you don't need to do that. In fact, the CGI that NASA use today is completely crap. It's something that is super, super bad. I'm talking about this. This is what type of image NASA produce in nowadays based on compositing, of course, because they have explained a lot of time that this was because you need to take data from supposedly um, or satellites that are within our spherical Earth, and then send the information. I don't say the pictures, but they send data. That data it's converted to image, and then you start stitching those image, producing this final image, which of course sometimes has complete different sizes and proportions. And the excuse is that well, we use different lenses and different perspective, so that is why all the earth are changing. But this is a completely crap using CGI or using computer technology. And I remember this what Simon Dunn trying to which is waiting. So you don't need to wait anymore. my friend, because now I am explaining to you. So that waiting room that you proposed, it's over, and I hope you address this video and explain me why it's not possible to reproduce that without computer if they have that technology. So something similar to SciManDan's statement was tweet by Elon Musk a couple of months ago, or a couple of, yeah, I think 1 year, and around 1 year and a half, something like that. And he posed, they used CGI to fake the moon landing. CGI in 1979, almost 10 years later, 11 years later, from that supposedly moon rising, Earth rising picture. And, like saying, okay, this is the CGI 11 years later than the moon landing, how it's going to recreate the moon landing on the CGI. So that is the starting point, which is a completely uh, a bad position to start if you want to figure out how it was made. All right. So first of all, what we use for explanation of how not the Earth rising, but also the uh, the Earth itself, this famous picture, the blue marble, was made. Because if you take a look to the Earth rising, is a low quality picture of the Earth in the background with a zoom from the moon. Okay, let me just Earth rising. So this is the picture that he's talking about. This is NASA Earth Observatory. Of course, they then with the years that has been passed, they retouch the picture, and you can find a little bit more in detail. But something like this is what he's posting, as he's still waiting for us like flat earth community to respond. So here you have a couple of things at least to notice. And this is, I'm going just paste here on Photoshop to see a couple of things. Let me just, because this is, I think, yeah, I think this is not the original one. I think this is a little bit retouch, and maybe we can have access to the original. And it was taken from Apollo 8. So here is another angle. This is a little, it doesn't matter that belong to NASA, but I think that is not the original one. I think the original one is more like this. But how it was made? Okay, because supposedly you need CGI to reproduce this. Well, the first thing, and this is very, very easy, is that we as flat earther with, or at least what I um, propose, is that this is a real picture, is a complete real picture, but not in outer space from the Apollo 17. And when I going to explain, is based on this. Okay, it's going to based on this, as is the same technique. All right, so it's a real picture to a model that was painting and then put on the black background, like this. You can picture a picture. You can imagine that this is the setup. That is why we ask, like, we don't have any uh, you know feature that we can use as as a guide to say, okay, the only way that this picture was taken is in space, because look the stars, look the planet, I don't know, look the sun in the background, or whatever. It's just a black background. It's this black background with the Earth, and nothing more than that, and super um, lit, in terms of the illumination of this spherical ball. Is a perfect illumination without any uh, change in colors, not the the sunrise or nothing is a completely perfect lit sphere. So we start with something that, at least for me, it's key for understand how it was made, which is there is this old patent that you can still found in Google patent. So let me just enter the name so you can follow along if you want to. So device for producing illusionary, or how, I don't know how to pronounce correctly, effects. All right. So I think this is the pattern that's still on it. And here you have it. So here they use an example, and remember that this US patent was produced on 10th of October on 1905. Like, this is not CGI, but it is like is like 64 years before the moon landing. And here you can have it. It's like it's like a ferry. I think it's ferry, like you say, like a something that you go and enjoy the day. And this is like something like it's hollow, and a lot of people get enter here and enjoy like an Epcot Center stuff, something like that. But the curious thing is that it's presented by a military. The guy is called something like, I remember, Maxine or something like that. Let me just go here. Okay, and it's produced. It was patented by Maxine. Yeah, James Maxine or something like that. I'm gonna to show you in a moment. Let me see if I see here. Okay, here, Maxime. And if you take a closer look, this is very similar in terms of the land masses distribution. Here it has South Africa, Madagascar, Australia, the Antarctic, and so on and so forth. And it's almost uh, it's almost like the final product, like the final shot is something like that. Here you have the Antarctic region, which is all covered in ice, and then you have a little bit of Madagascar, and then you have Africa, and a little bit of Europe, and things like that. So I'm talking about this. Of course, this is the same thing, but it was taken supposedly by a satellite. So the first thing is that we are able to produce this without the need of the CGI in the 60s. And the short answer is yes. So why you gonna need a CGI to fake the Earth rising or all these type of things of the Earth looking from outer space using CGI if we are able to reproduce without the need of CGI? So I don't know these globetrotters, how they the what is the logic behind to say this is CGI? I'm still waiting. So we have a friends in the flat Earth community, and maybe some people know it and some not, but it was Max Powerland that I don't know what it's about his life right now, but he present his own version, painting by hand, of the blue marble. Okay, so he recreated the blue marble perfectly, and this is an old video, so that is why it has a little bit less quality. But he used this, you know, he used, and if you take a look, it's exactly the same. Again, this is an old video from 2014, 2015, and the YouTube channel, YouTube quality at that time, it was 720p, so it's low quality. But if you have the chance to see in a high quality, this is exactly the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. So, if you put the blueprint of that US patent on top of here, which is the same thing on top of here. It's the same type of uh, setup or man lasses distribution. You can patent it. Of course, you can start to ask a new question like, well, NASA has something similar to produce this because this was made by the flat earther after he seen the blue marble, so blah 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 blah, yada yada yada, no? Like Bob used to say. So the thing is that yes, the short answer is yes. They in the Mercury missions, and that is very important. This is a very key to understand that they have the technology to paint a ball made of wood because that is the technology that they need. They don't need CGI. It was just painting. It was only painting a ball, a wood ball, nothing like that, nothing more than that. So this is a NASA headquarters. I think it was in the Lola Center. And here you can see three NASA engineers even touching the Madagascar part. This is Africa, South Africa. You can see this is almost, I'm gonna make a quick back and forth, and this is, if you take paying attention to this, it's almost the same, like let me get back here. So it's almost the same distribution and the same color. Let me take a look. Okay, it's almost the same. What is missing is, of course, the cloud layer and a little bit of special lighting and some type of uh, more deep blue of the oceans, things that you can achieve very easily just changing a couple of things. So here you have the technology. You don't need nothing about CGI, nothing special. This is over. Okay, this is how it was made. They paint a wood ball and they illuminate it. They put a black background and they take a picture and then present to the world as it was real, taken from the Apollo 17, and nothing more than that. Now I'm going to address how they could also produce the moon surface, but let me just finish with all these techniques to understand that. So this thing here, you can take it, you can see on video, where you have the three NASA engineering take a closer look to this wood ball painting, the most photorealistic as possible, and then you have a comparison like 10 years ago or 10 years before for universal picture. In the case of universal picture, I present this because you can have the same type of illumination, but in the background it's not just a black background. It's with a little bit of stars and some other space objects in the background. But if you start compare here, it's also even rotating the wood ball without the, of course, without the cloud layers. And this is still on studio. This is not meant to be the final product shot with the final setup. This was just as part of a documentary from NASA. I take this from official NASA website. This is just an example, but because supposedly they are studying where the maybe the spacecraft is going to land or whatever. But here you have how is the ball even rotating. And here is the same distribution. This is South Africa, Africa, Madagascar, and Europe, Italy, Asia, whatever. So this take a picture to that simple ball. They don't need CGI to fake the blue marble and all the rest of um, things that they present us as uh, taken from outer space. So there you have it. This is from the NASA headquarters. They have the blue marble there. So the only thing that they add in the final shot is this. it's the cloud layers. So this is Stanley Kubrick planetary art, if you want to call it in that way. But here you have it. This is just a picture, and you can, if you, yeah, of course, you need to belong to the community art and things like that. If not, you are not going to understand what I'm talking about, because you need to belong to the motion graphic and VFX artist. But the thing is that if you have the eye, training eye, you're going to immediately see that this is a picture. It's a photograph with a level of noise, because it was a real picture, and they take that and they process that picture and blah blah blah. But this is just a picture, and they took a picture, a real picture, to a real ball, but it was this type of setup. It was a ball like this with a cloud layer, and you don't need any more. You don't need nothing more. You don't need CGI, like Elon Musk tweet here, or SciManDan believe that the only way to produce that is with CGI. So here we have a couple of examples, for example, of other Apollo missions, and this is here we have the Earth rising. So this is just you know it's a black background without and even you can see how the camera is shaking. That is a complete garbage. Doesn't have any depth of field. It's nothing parallax. It's a complete insane. This is 2 meters. These ones, okay? Not, I'm not talking about this. 2 meters ago, 2 meters away. And then, of course, you have in nowadays, you have things like this, that maybe you think that this is a picture, a real photograph from outer space in the Jupiter planet, and that was paintball. So this is an old technique that doesn't require CGI technology. It's just make and the old-fashioned style, which is painting things, to matte painting. But instead of painting just a flat board or flat glass to combine the real filming with the um, matte painting, they paint the balls. They paint balls. That's all. In nowadays, CGI is a little bit different, and that is what why we have clones clouds and other stuff, or uh, um, fisheye lensings and different colors and different sizes of the final shot. But in the old days they don't has the need to be made in CGI. It's all paintings, props. It's all they need. So keep going a little bit. Of course, in our days, you can have things like the NASA Blue Marble 2.0. I think you have seen this video a million of times, where Simon, it was the name of the guy, Simon Robin Rob Simons. I cannot remember the name. He explained how it is, and it is Photoshop. Let me just play a little bit the video.
The shot is compiled from data from NASA's VEERS instrument, which orbits the Earth about every 100 minutes, taking measurements of light coming off the planet. That can be translated into ribbons of imagery like this.
There's a small problem with it because there's a very slight gap in between each orbit.
So some of those are painted on.
It is photoshopped, but it's has to be. It is photoshopped, but it's has to be. It is photoshopped, but it's has to be.
It is Photoshop. So the thing is like that. I mean, in our days, they use computers to process real pictures and things like that. But to give us the space that we never going to experience, and like what supposedly came from Hubble or Spitzer or James Webb or whatever. So they have the analog technology to produce what Simon Dunn doesn't understand, and he believes that the only way to produce this is just as in CGI. So, for example, I remember I did this in the 2018 in 3ds Max, where I have downloaded the textures from NASA, because they provide you, of course, to play a little bit with the balls and posting this in your social media and things like that. So this is made by me. It's just a rotating Earth with the cloud layers, with a little bit of supposedly the sun is up here, a little bit of dirt in the lenses, and you can make it more real in our days. But NASA is not going to try that. When they use CGI, they're trying to match with the old style, so they don't want to produce in CGI real thing. That is why we have the famous phrase of Elon Musk saying that if it was real, this is like CGI because this is not CGI because it's so crap that is why it's real. I cannot remember exactly the words, but they do on purpose, because if they show to the world that they can make a super realistic Earth in CGI, then you have the excuse to point a finger and say, okay, how we know that this is not the CGI or the real thing? Because you show us that you have the ability to create photorealistic images from CGI. So that is why they always going to trying to, let's say, present us different models in the final product of the spherical world that they presented. If they want to make a real, they can make real, of course. And I think they make real just in some, let's say, in some occasions, like the ones that they show us the Earth from outer space, from the ISS, and that type of special things like this. For example, a lot of people believe that this is real because it is from the ISS and whatever. But when you take a look, this is just or how can you make this? Well, you just take things like the Bexel cameras, like this. If you enter Bexel cams, and you can just download it, top aerial pictures, which are real pictures, real things. And I am not talking about in our days, which we have we have um, artificial intelligence videos. So forget it. Now we are completely in the wild west in terms of what they can present us as a real. But in those days, if you want, you can download this type of information. This is not made by a satellite. This is made by planes that all days they produce, and they manage and process a lot of information, and they send it as a satellite information, or it's the same thing as the satellite information. So you just put a little bit of a big texture, and you map into a sphere, and you can compose this. It's just a plane taking video or image, and you just produce this, and it's very, very easy to produce real things. Of course, they don't have this technology or this opportunity in the 60s, so that they make some crappy thing in the 60s, of course. So again, if you want to understand how they make the moon part, well, in my opinion, they use an old fashion, old friend of the uh, technique, which is the frontal projection technique, which I think is the most efficient thing at that time. And now we are replacing, of course, with green screen and other technologies. But at that time, I think it's very, very clever to do this. And we cannot deny the link between Stanley Kubrick and NASA, because Stanley Kubrick invented this this technology, right? And or this method. So if we imagine for a second that, well, yes, Stanley Kubrick, he invent this technology, but NASA never have any connection with Stanley Kubrick. At least that it was something that you can use to say, okay, but they never meet each other. They never meet each other. But we know that they have a very, very special link between NASA and Stanley Kubrick. So you need to assume that at least. So what is the front projection technology is this? And this, by the way, this was made in a Russian university, and it was made on the Russia Art and Art and Film University in 2016, I think, 2016, especially to expose the NASA lie about the moon landing. So it was made it by Russians. Of course, it's not going to be approved by the government. People that are still waiting that, well, why the Russians didn't expose the NASA fake if they are opponents in the Cold War. They still believe in Santa Claus, of course. But this was made on the Russian university using just a simple, here you can see the silver mirror, 45 degrees. Here you have the simple projector, and this image is bouncing here and go to the to screen, and then you combine a real, in this case, a real set, a real terrain with the frontal projection. And then you put the flag, of course, and this is how the technique works. And you put the camera behind, of course, this special transparent mirror that you have, and boom, you have it. And in fact, at least you need to have you need to have into account that this mountain here is the same mountain in Arizona, and that is also you need to at least have into account. I don't know if I have a video here. Let me check very quickly, because I think I have it here or not. I don't know. I don't remember. But not here. No, I must be having another directory. Maybe I can find it. I don't know. But here is how it was made, the Earth moon rising. So when you have this, you need to have a couple of things in mind in terms of the technique. The first thing is that you always want to have some bumps in the back where the screen and the real set it's going to have contact. You need to have that into mind. And the other thing that you're going to have a little problem is that the the image projected in the screen is going to appear a little bit washed out. And if you use a black background, of course you don't have that issue. But if not, you can have some issues like we already see in this type of pictures that they present when they get back to Earth. And here is this is original picture from NASA. And here you can clearly see this is a really, really contrast part of the picture where is the real terrain. And this is a little bit washed out, and of course cannot be washed out because there is no atmosphere. So there is no this type of let's say you cannot produce this what they call like fog, aerial perspective, because there is not atmosphere. So the thing is like this is a clearly a frontal projection issue, which is this washout type in the pictures. And then you have another one here with which you have a really contrast image here with this definition line between the real foreground and the frontal projection background. So, and then we always have, like, it's like they change the set, but they didn't change the filming. the MP4, the MP4 file doesn't, they don't change. So you have the same mountain in the same perspective, but with a different supposedly location, which is a really, really strange thing. If you think about it for 2 seconds, you don't need more than 2 seconds to understand what I'm presenting here. So remember that they used to have from I think Hollywood used this technique from 1920s, which is the matte painting. Oh no, sorry, 1905. Well, in the same year of the illusory device that they patent, which was in 1905. So they use, of course, frontal matte painting from other stuff. They also remember that they create a lot of miniature that supposedly, because you need to understand that they play like always they have a card to let's say to present, which is, well, we need to create educational content for the audience for preparations before we go to the moon. And you have here the whole Disney empire producing a lot of things in terms of miniature to use as a model, filming by CBS, which was I think the official TV channel to go live with the moon landing. And here we have a Ron Howard, which was known in Hollywood as the man who created the moon, because he was the employee of Walt Disney. I'm talking about this guy here, which create in wood the whole complete moon that they used to produce educational, of course, educational content. But he also creates some flat surface, a really, really detailed flat surface based on the picture that we already have from Earth to the moon. And he also belonged, Roger Hayward, he also belonged to a Freemason lodge. So at least have that in mind. And he also created a couple of things that they are very, for me, interested, but it has also like a connection of with the frontal projection, because he invented this special screen in 1940s. He invented the transparent projection screen, which is something that maybe with the time it was evolved, and then it was combined to use in the frontal projection. Or maybe they use something like this directly. They have this technology. So that is very, very nice. And then he also invented this high vacuum chamber for controlling the sound. Supposedly we don't have sound in space. So maybe this is something that they could be used for some tricks of the astronauts walking on the surface of the moon. I don't know exactly, but here you have it. But the silver, the transparent projection screen, it's a really, really interesting thing. So keep going. We have in our days, of course, we have a as a just as a entertainment place to go. You can see now this is the smart everyday guy showing a real set to go. I don't know if this is a Space Kennedy Center or something like that, that where they produce a little bit of the moon landing surface. And if you combine with frontal projection or matte painting, you can have this feeling of a um, long distance landscape and things like that. So you can see here it's very easy to do, especially when you have all the time and all the money. That it how it was the case on that at that moment in time. We have another matte painting here. Of course, I think everyone's know the matte painting from um, Odyssey 2001. And then you can have, oh no, you can see how they produce a lot of things on the moon, especially the long distance supposedly travel with the miniatures that supposedly was going around the moon and things like that, because they already have this special place called Lola Center. And the Lola Center, the Lola Center is just um, how you say, cinematography set. It's just like a, TV studio. It wasn't made for training. It was to create content for study and simulation. So here you have this type of curved surface projecting a video that was pre-filmed on miniature I mean long terrains. And then they project and they use a reel and they have a continuous, and this is the space flight simulator, and you can achieve a long video durations, give the feeling that you are going around a super big spherical ball. And they have all that technology, technology, they use all these tricks. And that is why you don't need CGI. You need money, and you need smart people, and they already have it. Of course, when the time goes by and we trying to understand uh, what they did in our days, it's very easy to understand that how that could be faked. In fact, we in our days in Hollywood, they still use this type of technique, like the space flight simulator, which is, you can see it in First Man, for example, movie production, where they just have a curve screen. And in our days, we don't project an image, we just use LEDs, TV LEDs. And but the technique is the same. You film or you produce via CGI, or you film a miniature and then you project or use LED screens. But the principle is the same. You have a continuous feeling of movement going around the sun, but the only problem that you're going to have is that you have a fixed camera on the object, and you're going to see always perfect. Here you have like a turning camera or turning movement of the spacecraft. Then you have here another example with the supposedly the Mercury. I think this is belong to Mercury missions. This is the old plane with NASA, and they always put the 666 in the front, like in the official plane that supposedly, I think it was flew by Neil Armstrong. Then you have a little bit of sheds, for changing the orientation. And here the motion is relative. So if you have a fixed camera and you move the background, the end result for the audience is going to be like you are moving the plane. But it wasn't the case. It just pre-film that rotation or that change of in orientation. So NASA at that time has all type of simulations with six degrees of freedom. They have techniques to produce slow motion and sparks flying
programs
in,
helped eliminate what otherwise
in all in the black backgrounds. They love black backgrounds, of course. Then you can see, just for comparison, you can see, this is Lola Center training, I think, and you have a real size mock-up in front of a black background, silk black background. Nothing more than that. It's the only thing that you need. And then you can have this mechanical movement. And by the way, in this case, there is a person inside here. This is not just a miniature. This is a real scale object moving into a mechanical way with a black silk black background. And then, of course, when you compare that movement with this type of crabs here, you can see this is rotating without any type of propulsion. It's just rotating because because it's high on wire, nothing more than that. And here you can see that change of movement and this all mechanical stuff, and there's a little spring when it stops, and change and all the antenna is vibrating. And I cannot believe how people defend this in nowadays. I mean, what the fuck is? Look at this, man. I mean, you must be a retard if you defend this. At that time, maybe, but in nowadays. And here you can see the moon. This is just a first man technique movie, and you can see how it's a little bit washed out, like a self-illuminated object. And I'm gonna show you in a moment how they produce that, or why you see like that. And that is because well, this is for example, the amount of realism that you can have in miniature. This is a miniature capsule. This is not a real capsule. This is just a miniature capsule. This is the Crab of Skylab miniature, and this is some movie miniatures that they use. So here we have the famous antenna breaks.
Did you see it? Here it is cropped. Here it is at half speed.
This is amazing, I think.
Here's the same clip from Getty Images.
How they defend this? It's
without question, this is a model that broke.
Yes.
NASA is a criminal organization that has not only stolen hundreds of billions of dollars, but also the hearts and minds of billions of people.
I completely agree with Ben. And remember that I don't know if I have it here, but why you see that washout type of thing? This type of washout. This is a miniature, of course. This is a complete miniature filming in front of a background projection. If I put here just an spherical wood object in the background between the black silk, the spherical wood painting by hand, with a projection in front and the miniature here, and I film, I have the Earth rising. That is all you need. And this is a very, very old and I mean, it's but the question is, NASA not only has that, they use that in some extent in their program. And the answer is yes. The answer is yes. And in fact, I'm going to show you a setup that NASA has at that time for, well, I remember when they, that's for training, where they blow up an area. I don't know if it was in Arizona or whatever, to produce like a big area of craters. And let me see what we have here. There you have it. From a top view, But what I want to show you is that they have, I think I have it. Give me a couple of seconds. Okay, I see it. It's around here. Oh, well, this famous picture of yeah, there you have it. Another prototype with Arthur C. Clarke. Here we can see the guys with Stanley Kubrick. Maybe if this picture didn't exist, you can start thinking, okay, well, NASA needs to contact Stanley Kubrick, bring into the headquarters, and blah blah blah. But there you have a picture. No, but this was because Stanley Kubrick wants to film the Odyssey 2001, and they need a special lens for the low illumination scenes, and yeah, and Santa Claus exists, of course. So let me found. I saw it a couple of moments ago, and why I cannot see? It's here. It's in this big picture. So the setup that I propose, and this is, for example, you can see it in these official images where you can see a part of the crater completely cut off and in orientation that doesn't correspond with reality. And also you have this like a self-illumination type of image here. So how it was made that? Well, once you have all the stuff that pre-record, you just project like like this. For example, this image of the Apollo in the uh, orbit of the moon. Here you can see like a self illuminated moon with the miniature on top, and that was made like this. You have a front camera, you have a screen in the background, you have the model on the front, and you just roll or play the video, which was not the video, but it was, like I mentioned before, it's like a frontal projection technique, or back. In this case, it could be also a background projection. So the projector is in the back of this transparent silver screen, like they already have in these days. So you project the image, you have the fixed camera, you have a fixed object hanging on wires, you can make it rotate if you need it, or you can make change orientation. And this is the what we have here. This is what we have here. It's just a combination of that technique, and that technique is the same of here. Is the same thing in here, where you have, instead of a miniature, you have a real model, a real scale model. Nothing fancy, nothing that you cannot do it at that time. That is why they don't use CGI. They use all analog techniques. You don't need CGI to fake this crap, man. We as a human being, we have realism, photorealism in paintings from the Middle Ages. You can paint photorealism by hand. We as human, we can produce a really, really, really detailed things when we paint. And especially because in the old days, and this is by a movie or Disney movie, they use the magic Latin, which was invented by a Jesuit called Athanasius Kirchner, who invented the what we call now with the light projector. He was the first to invent this, and they use in the old times to project an image, a real image from the real life, and then the only problem that they have is was inverted. So the artist use a set of mirrors and light, to no artificial light, of course, to produce take an image and project it into a portrait screen. I don't know how to say it. So you came here, you have that projected, and you paint it, and you use this as a reference, and then you can achieve photorealism, not just in terms of the colors, but more important in the perspective. and that is how it was made. This type of tricks in the Middle Ages, and it's a lot of articles and documentary talking about the hyperrealism and some of their tricks that they was used in the 1600s, 1700s, and etc., etc. So imagine that they can produce a photorealism by hand 300-400 years ago. How they are not going to produce in the 60s with all the uh, technology that we have in that time, which is not a digital, but we don't need a digital technology to produce that. It's simply as that. So there is a lot of things. We are still waiting, right, for the men to back to the moon. Here we have another examples how, and you can see how the technology advanced in terms of the digital technology and how the space advanced. This is all miniatures, and you can see it. I mean, man, you don't need to see to be a genius. You can see here, this is a complete not CGI. This is analog compositing, and nobody can believe that this is real, but it was presented to people as if it was real. And this is in the 80s, and here you can see this is a complete painting or printing ball, ball or just a flat background. And we don't have even colors, live color. We don't have glows, nothing. It's just a miniature. This is all picture based and printing. Then in the 80s, we can see a little bit of more vivid colors because they use video. Here we cannot see even a little tiny glow in the atmosphere. In the 90s, here we can start see, which is a completely dead painting or photograph that was you print and you put there. This is just all miniature stuff. This is a complete. This is a picture. This is this isn't a picture. This is just a drawing. This is a film. This is a film, and maybe it's filmed by a stratospheric balloon or maybe from a plane, and they use this as a library material. Then in the 2000s, we still have this crap thing when the cloud doesn't move, doesn't change in forms. It's a complete look at this, man. I mean, it's completely crap. This is just, and I use Chat GPT, and I plug of some of this picture and ask if they was like something strange in this perspective. And Chat GPT said that this is a fake image. And then when the technology advanced, we start having all these beautiful, aurora borealis light and storms and city lights and things like that. So here you must be believed that you have the this is all compositing, of course. And this is some of the comment that people are not believing anymore in this type of crap, because of course this is just digital compositing. This is a CGI. The other moon landing stuff is not CGI because they don't need a CGI. So I have another couple of things here. You can see, for example, a time lapse of 6 hours where this cloud doesn't change even a pixel from this to this side of the window, which has like past like 3 hours. And this you have an stratospheric balloon at 40 kilometers. In just 10 minutes, all the clouds were changing in shape, in form, in position. Here you can see a real life plane of existence, and this is like a just spherical map Earth, where you have 6 hour time lapse where the cloud doesn't even change a bit. And this is 40 kilometers on the straight horizon at the eye level of the observer, in this case the gondola. So this is the things that you need to have to compare. This is a Turbo Squid $450 model in CGI, and it's hyper realistic. And this is the supposedly uh, spherical Earth from the space when Elon Musk launched the Roadster car. It's the same one. You don't need to spend much time to, and it's still, I think it's still online. So here you can you can grab it if you want to spend that money. You can have your spherical Earth. Well, now it's really really lower in the price, so nobody wants the spherical Earth anymore, I think. So real world scalings, and here you can have all the details as a photorealistic thing. So and again, remember that we are in the age of artificial intelligence era. So you can make now a lot of videos, a lot of things that it's going to be in the undistinct, I don't know how to say, but you are not going to be able to distinguish from reality, especially because nobody has this type of perspective. Nobody experience this view of the world, so they play with this advantage. So you are showing something that nobody can see, nobody can test it. So how you know if this is real or not if you never see something like that? And the moon, of course, you have a real moon. So in nowadays, of course, we are going to use CGI to fake if there is something to fake, because I don't know if you're going to take the risk to go back to the moon. But I think I leave clear my point. Then we can, analyze a lot of things. But I think I'm going to do it in another show. And I hope you like it, the presentation. I hope SciManDan understand that you don't need CGI to produce the crap that we see in the 60s and 70s. This just was made painting a ball that NASA already have, because they already have in training sessions in the Mercury's times. I think it was Gemini or Mercury times. So you just put the clouds on top and then you take a picture, and there you have the blue marble or the Earth rising picture. It is a real picture, but the object is just a fake wood ball with a black background. And the moon that you see in the Earth rising is just a frontal projection moon. Nothing like that. Nothing more than that. It's not complicated, man. It's just you need to open your eyes and stop living in the wonderland and stop believing in Santa Claus. So I hope you like it, and I think I'm going to be a little more active in my English channel. So see you in the next time. Bye bye.